A new report shows officials with the U.S. Justice Department explored bringing criminal charges against Minnesota judges and defense lawyers who discussed requesting virtual court hearings to protect defendants from being arrested by federal immigration officers. In February, FBI agents up in Minneapolis opened a preliminary inquiry into whether local judges and defense attorneys obstructed immigration enforcement by requesting those virtual hearings. To date, no judge or lawyer in Minnesota has been charged over this episode. Two of the people familiar with the discussion said that FBI and Justice Department leadership in Washington supported the probe. A Justice Department spokesperson declined to comment.
All right, so we're going to bring in Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes, and this kind of plays to a larger theme, right? We talked earlier about immigration and customs enforcement agents going to courtrooms, judges that deal with those cases being fired. So what do we know, or what do we see this as, the relationship with the federal government with the judiciary here?
Well, remember, there's supposed to not be a relationship, three co-equal branches of government. And in this situation, when you're talking about the Justice Department, they are in the prosecutorial role. And then if you're talking about the judiciary, they're in a judicial role, which are supposed to be distinctly separate. And if you're talking about defense attorneys, they're in a separate role. And so there's no oversight, I should say, by the Department of Justice to ensure that these judges and or defense attorneys are doing or complying with what they're asking them to do. Now, if you, let's go to a couple things. It is for sure a federal offense to assist or to stop federal agents, ICE officials, from conducting their job. So if you're interfering with that, if they're trying to arrest someone and you're stopping them, by all means, it is a clear violation of the law. But to host, to suggest, to have a virtual hearing, something that is routinely done, has been done since COVID, and even before that, we've had virtual hearings. COVID, you saw just a spike, and then after, I've had virtual hearings all the time. There's hundreds of virtual hearings scheduled in Mecklenburg County for today. And so to suggest that this is something that they can be charged for, to recommending a way that their client can get resolution in a case where they wouldn't be able to if they had them go to court and they have to worry about docking and dodging ICE agents in the hallway to have a resolution, I think that it would be hard-pressed to see how you can find these folks have now contributed to the interference of an arrest. That to me is problematic, and I think it's a logical stretch. But we've seen crazier things happen in the last few weeks for sure.
Khalif, we know that there's a Trump Department of Justice memo out there, which basically is pushing to prosecute any officials that basically stand in the way of any kind of enforcement. So, is that DOJ overstepping into the judiciary? We talk about keeping things separate. So how can you have the executive branch telling the judiciary, hey, you can't be holding these?
No, I think that they're distinctly separate than in the situation when they talked about having these virtual hearings. Now, when you talk about the situation with the judge in Milwaukee trying to help the person evade, if you're talking about the other judge, I believe they were in Boston, having the person go out the back door. Yeah, I think that's different. When you're like, okay, ICE is in the hallway, run away, remove yourself from this in the scene. I think that would be a clear-cut definition of assisting in or interfering with the arrest of a person. However, if you're having a hearing, scheduling a hearing, I think it's, first of all, the more convenient way with people to get to court if you don't have to worry about taking off of work. That's why we have these virtual hearings. Obviously, they got spiked up again during COVID, but the process is to make it extremely more convenient to ensure that we don't have folks that are failing to appear and court isn't able to conduct. If a person misses court before they issue an order for arrest, they're going to issue a failure to appear. Well, in that failure to appear, what happens? They just get a new court date. So now instead of having 100 people in the case next week, you have 101. Well, if that happens 100 times, now you have 200. So then it starts to add up. So how do we avoid that? We allow it to be convenient for folks so that, yes, this is already an inconvenient, uncomfortable, and frustrating process of going to court. How do we remove it? We make this process virtual. But I think you have to distinguish between the two of physically helping someone evade, leave, or hide as opposed to what they're doing, which is scheduling. I understand that it is giving the appearance of evading, but I think this is utilizing court resources to the best of their ability.
Khalif, even looking at the probe and taking the overall theme here of Trump versus the judiciary branch, have you ever seen it be so adversarial between the judiciary and the executive branch? Is this unique to Trump? Where do you put it into context for us?
The short answer is no. I've never seen this in history. Probably Watergate, when the court was frustrated with Nixon. Yeah, that's about it, where I can say you've had folks that are outrightly defying court orders on the one side, and you have the executive branch being frustrated with court orders on the other side. So, yeah, this is uncharted territory.
All right, Khalif, thank you.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.